Simon, at the moment, we're getting a lot of calls from fans of clubs both in the EFL and in the Premier League. Because yesterday, another holding statement came out from the Premier League. What was that about? It was about the Premier League at some stage, either now or further down the line, releasing money to help out clubs further down the pyramid. The Premier League clubs have got it to give it, haven't they? We're agreed on that. The EFL clubs need it. We're agreed on that. So when are they going to get it? But we got another holding statement. Premier League clubs reconfirmed their commitment to securing a sustainably funded financial agreement with the EFL, subject to the new financial system being formally approved by the clubs. But nothing really seems to change there. But now things are changing, because the profit and sustainability rules around Premier League spending are changing. But the thing is this, they're not going to change in time that would see Everton go unpunished or Nottingham Forest go unpunished. And that, say Evertonians, in my view, is not right. That, say Forest fans, is not right. But Simon, you say, I'm afraid you committed those sins in a previous life and they're going to catch up with you. Hence, it's right that you're punished.
Yeah, you're not being judged for the here and now. You're being judged for what you did 3 years ago. So what? When the rules were in place 3 years ago, they weren't relevant to the times and the circumstances and the adjustment of thinking. Those were the rules. You knew what the rules were. You had to abide by them. You've chosen not to, for whatever reason, so you suffer the consequences. And when those rules and laws evolve and everything starts to move forward in a different direction and people start to recognise the challenges of an independent regulator, start to learn the lessons from historical data and start to pivot, then, yeah, the argument can be well made that it does in part protect the cartel. But it's also about protecting football clubs from the whims of individual owners that subsequently may lose interest.
And in Forest's case, Marinakis. This is what you're saying.
Yeah, well, Marinakis has got plenty of money, but that's not necessarily that's not Nottingham Forest's money. And if Marinakis, for whatever reason, falls foul of certain commercial opportunities in other walks of life and decides that Nottingham Forest is not his primary concern to fund, yet he's built up a huge cost base at Nottingham Forest, what do you think is going to happen to Nottingham Forest? What happened to other football clubs like Portsmouth and other teams that dropped out of the Premier League and find themselves in dreadful situations?
We see the caller that we had a moment ago, the Forest fan, Dan in the Wirral, is saying, what a great call from the Forest fan just now. These new PSR rules just protect the elite who already have Champions League money most seasons. Stadiums to suit their turnover and profit. The other 10 to 14 scramble to achieve. Newcastle and Villa have given it a right good go, but guess what? A year and a half later and PSR catches up with them and they're already looking at selling before they can buy. All this does is protect the elite once again. He's right.
There is a balancing act. It's a difficult one to maintain. What do you want? Do you want an industry that can sustain itself and not to be dependent upon individuals? Do you want a capitalist society just allows a free-for-all that affects lots of other people rather than just yourself? Or do you want some form of governance that doesn't over-strangle the industry but gives some coherency? Now, I'm not suggesting the FFP rules are right or the PSA rules are right, but as long as you keep evolving and keep moving and trying to get an outcome which maintains sporting merit, maintains an opportunity for people to invest in the industry at the same time as get some controls in place, and I think you've got to keep evolving the thinking.
Yeah, but you don't like this question. Is it not odd that clubs are currently being punished for what are soon to be out-of-date rules?
But that's the nature of the beast. You get judged by the circumstances of the time that you're in. So if what do you want to do? Rewrite history and then retry people for crimes they've committed in the past by the governance of today? These are not crimes that Everton are committing now. They're crimes they committed 3 years ago.
Mike's an Evertonian. I'm going to get you in a moment. Mike, Adam, big Manchester United fan. You've been waiting patiently. What do you want to say? Good morning.
Morning, gents. Morning, Simon.
Morning.
Hi, Adam.
I wanted to start off by saying I think if TalkSPORT loses Simon Jordan, there's no more TalkSPORT, if I'm being honest. I think Simon makes the show.
Great point.
I think Simon absolutely makes the show.
We're all agreed in that.
What I do want to say is I feel like 80% for a top four club is not an 80% for a Burnley or a Sheffield United. So the profits that they're going to bring in comparison to the bigger clubs, I think the percentage should be a bit smaller for maybe 50%, 40% towards the bigger clubs, because their profit and sustainability is going to be massive.
What do you make of that, Simon?
Well, it's a very difficult one to be able to make it a piecemeal equation, because what does a top 6 club look like?
Right.
And when does it look like a top 6 club? He's right.
Yeah.
Because 85% for Manchester United of a £500 million turnover represents potential depreciation and wages of £425 million. 85% for Crystal Palace on a £150 million turnover represents 130 million. So they've got 3 times the wage spend because their turnover is 3 times bigger.
Okay.
So I understand the argument, but the alternative is that you have no governance and you have a free-for-all. That's the alternative.
Adam, thanks for the call. At present, clubs are penalised if they exceed losses of 105 million over a 3-year period. TalkSPORT understands the new regulations will mean that clubs will be allowed to spend a certain percentage of their turnover and costs, such as transfer fees and wages. That percentage is expected to be set around 85% from next season. But Mike, the Evertonian, it ain't going to help you, is it? Because if the rules are not fit for purpose, as they seem not to be, then you guys are still going to get hit by those not fit for purpose rules. And presumably, Mike, you think that's unfair.
Morning, first of all. I hope you're both well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, I find interesting show. Simon, what are you thinking? You're enjoying beating Everton with a stick, by the way. Maybe Forest, because they were promoted, should be a different case. Just keep airbrushing over City. Let's not talk about that. Nothing to see.
But that's not true, is it?
Everton. Oh, it's very true, mate.
Well, it's not, is it? I endlessly vilify City for their 115 charges they've yet to answer. Chelsea have not been. If Chelsea were guilty of financial fair play, they would be charged by the Premier League on January the 14th. So for season 2021, 21-22 and 22-23, Chelsea have fallen under the £105 million loss. That's a fact. You guys didn't. End of discussion.
Yeah. No, it's not the end of discussion, Simon. Why is Everton's money upside down? Why is Everton's money upside down? Is it for buying players? Is that why it's upside down?
I don't understand your question.
Is that why they've bought? Have they overspent on players? Because the last 4 years, Mr. Masters has ensured that they've sold every creative player they have.
No. That's also a misrepresentation, isn't it? He put you under special measures, and they didn't police you properly, because ultimately the transactions that you did, like selling Luka Dana and replacing with Mikalenko, were designed to improve the balance sheet of Everton, and they didn't do it. You guys lost 360 million quid over a 3-year period, and you were allowed to make adjustments of about 240 million quid, and you still came over the 105 million. And that's the end of the discussion. You might not like it, and the sanction might be too harsh. That's why it's been reduced on appeal. But breach the financial fair play rules, you did. End of discussion.
Do you accept that, Mike?
I'm an Evertonian, absolutely. Evertonians have been telling yourselves and everybody else, the club is from like a shack and has been for 5-6 years. We all know that. And when
Indeed.
we say it, no, these people are good, these people are that. They're not. They couldn't run a business. Anyway, let's park that for a moment.
Okay.
Tottenham Hotspur. I've got no beef whatsoever with Spurs. Seems like a nice football club. Great.
Yep.
Where did they generate £1.2 billion to build a stadium?
Well, they financed it. But they financed it.
They financed it.
Yeah.
So why can't Everton finance theirs?
Well, I'm sure they will do.
Briefly though, Mike, on spending rules, Mike, they're changing the rules. Is it your belief Everton should no longer be hit because those rules seemingly are now out of date?
Here's the point, Chip. If you guys want to sit there and say, well, what you've done in the past is this, is that, fine. I've no problem with that.
Okay.
But the only way that works is to say, right, now we're drawing a big line. Let's have a look at everybody's books.
Okay.
Well, you will be going forward based upon new rules.
Mike, we're going to take a break. I can understand his frustration there, though, Simon.
Yeah, but it's
one
drivel.
moment they're getting hit by. No, it's not drivel.
But it's
one minute
utter drivel.
they're getting hit by rules which are about to change.
No, he's not making that.
So further down the line, they're going to get hit by out-of-date rules.
He's not making that point. You're making that point on his behalf. You're advancing a point that he didn't make. He said, what about Chelsea and Man City? Well, Chelsea have not breached financial fair play. They probably will do next season, but up until the accountancy point of 23, they filed their accounts for 22-23 at the end of December. If there had been £105 million of losses, they'd be charged. So Chelsea have not breached financial fair play, so they can't be charged.
But they'll probably breach next season, but the rule change will mean they might not be hit as hard.
They'll be judged by the rule changes up until this season. So they'll be judged for 21-22, 22-23.
How do you know that?
Because those are the rules they're going to be judged by at the time. They're not going to be judged by a different set of rules. The financial cycle would go forward on the basis of 24-25, 25-26. So the last 3 years will be the judgment pool. And that's what they'll be judged by. Not by 24-25, because that hasn't happened yet. How can they be judged by something that hasn't happened yet?
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the TalkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. TalkSPORT.